Uh, so these are some ideas. Let's look at one more example here. Let's look at, say, ace 10-4 versus a fish. This time we're under the gun, and fish is in the big blind.
Okay.
Are you going to bet or check with a hand like king jack?
Mm,
King jack, king queen, whatever. How do you decide?
uh, I bet.
Okay. Yeah. That's what most people would do, right? Like you said, you bet all your hands, like whatever, just bet all the time. And that's very
Okay.
normal.
Yeah,
Um,
because to ace and I have a little ad range advantage there.
huge range advantage. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One thing I like to tell people is that even bad players know to check range on the flop, right? So when you raise, they call, and the flop comes and they check. At that exact moment, if they call correct ranges pre-flop, then you're playing someone for that moment in time who is as good as Phil Ivey, as Linus Love, as whoever else, because everybody knows to check everything here,
Yeah.
right? There's no skill differential at this node. Like nothing has changed.
Yeah, I understand.
So when you bet here, you're not really betting into a fish yet. You're kind of betting into Phil Ivey, Linus Love, the fish, whoever. They have not made any mistakes, right?
Yes.
And so, what we see here, right, again, is even though this hand mostly bets, it is a mixed decision. Like, there is no mandatory bet here with this hand. It can check. It's okay to check this hand, right? And I'll
Okay.
show you what happens if we check. If our opponent has like ace nine, what do you think they're going to do on the turn?
Probably if he thinks I am a GTO player, he needs to check because I have a lot of range that crash your range.
Hmm. But if it's a fish, what do you think the fish is going to do?
I think the fish bet like
Right.
uh, like
Yeah.
uh, like a half pot or similar.
Totally. Yeah, they're gonna place some useless tiny bet. It accomplishes almost nothing, and they'll be like, "Oh, I deny equity," like
Yeah.
so. Yeah, like you said, you're very good guess. You're supposed to check most of the time. I'm glad you said that. And these hands can bet, but it's if you simplify your strategy, they're not going to bet, right? And so instead, the fish will take all of these hands and say, "I have top pair, I have top pair, I have top
Yeah.
pair," and they're going to
I'm
bet,
I'm bet. Yeah.
right? So what we can take from this is I have a new way of separating my opponent from Linus Love, whomever else, right? If this flop goes check, check, and they check turn, I have now filtered their range so that it contains no top pair, right?
So
Do you
s- s-
Would you rather bluff into a range where they have as much top pair as Linus Love, or bluff into a range where they have no top pair, right?
okay, but my question is with this opponent with a fish on big blind, uh, what is the best way to check top pair and his bet because he hit something, or check like king jack backdoor equity. So what is the best way to exploit it?
Are you asking, is it okay to check like ace king here?
Yeah, I think with the opponent that don't counter with his X
Mm-hmm.
is a best way to check a good value like his
Mm-hmm.
king. But
What's
king jack,
Yeah.
what I'm doing with fishing big blind?
That's what I'm trying to explain is if you have king jack here
Yeah.
under the gun, if you check, then on the turn, when they check again, this hand is supposed to be in exactly the same, whoops. This hand is supposed to be in exactly the same spot. It's supposed to be as confused on the turn as it was on the flop. Do I bet? Do I check? I don't know. They still have a million top pair, right? They're still checking almost all the time. They have all of this top pair. What do I do? But in reality, they have like no top pair if they're a fish. So what I do in spots like this is, especially like under the gun versus big blind, is I check flop to filter their range. You know what I mean by filter?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Because
And then,
because if big blind not bet, probably I have a good the best hand. I can bet strong for
you
exploit.
might not have the best hand, but they might have, for example,
Not
like
best hand, but I have
winning hand.
filtered his
Yeah.
a6 probably.
Yeah. Not even just ace six, right? Like also ace five, ace three, probably ace nine, these hands. And so you're bluffing into a range of hands like pocket threes, pocket fives. And okay, they'll have some 10-9 that calls down, and they'll have some traps. That's fine. They'll have those. But ultimately, it's a range that I would rather bluff into,
Okay.
right?
But uh,
So
but uh,
this is Mhm.
if a big blind check on turn,
Mhm.
bet on turn.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what is my what is what is the exploitation there?
Uh, the exploit is to fold.
Okay, simply.
Yeah, because
Okay.
like their range is just gonna have way more top pair than it should, and like it may also have more bluffs than it should, but like, yeah, like I don't know. I guess like the exploit would be to fold hands that never beat any bluffs. Like King Jack, like I would probably fold like if we somehow had like 7-5 suited here or something. I guess we don't really have that hand, but um like fives. Like fives is supposed to sometimes call. I would fold that hand. King Jack I might call because our implied odds are quite good
Okay, I'm
versus a fish.
implied notes, yeah.
And also we beat like 8-9, 5-7, random diamonds. So it's actually not a
Probably
bad bluff catcher.
probably if on the river hands goes gold, I don't know, but check. Probably if I hit a jack or king and open have a 10, probably I have the best hand.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
well, if they check river, I might even value bet a king or a jack, right? Because I do think it's a lot of 10x.
Okay.
Um, how to play against fish? Like it's confusing because there are multiple right answers, you know,
Yeah.
and it's confusing too because fish actually overbluff since they have too wide a range pre-flop, and they also value bet too often as well. They value bet too merged a range.
Okay.
So these factors compete against each other, right?
Right.
It's like it's not enough air. It's like too much like 10-9 offsuit, 10-8 offsuit, king 4 suited, all this bullshit, right?
Right.
And then uh but then they also have too many bluffs. Like there will be people here who just have like king 9 of hearts or something. There's,
Okay.
bet because why not, right?
All right.
So yeah, but the main thing is I would filter the range to hope that they
I
check
have
flop.
another question.
Hmm.
How I understand uh, when this spot goes check on the flop, uh, big blind bet on the turn. I call like king jack. Then the river
Hmm.
opponent check,
Check.
and
Okay. What kind of card?
a blank like two. I don't know.
Okay. They check.
He checked. Okay.
Hmm.
What is the best be- best bluff? I don't know. Best
Mm.
part of I can. Uh,
So
yeah.
the way that fish are almost all alike is that they underprotect their checking range.
Yeah.
So I
So
don't believe that
when
ace
I
six ever checks.
okay,
It's never checking for the
never.
fish. Yeah, never
Never
ever.
double, never easy X probably.
Yeah, yeah. So like maybe they have, I don't know, like ace five, right? Probably most fish, what they do is they just place a small bet, which actually is correct, but that's what they mostly do, right? I don't really see many fish checking this hand a lot. The way that fish are different, which makes the question hard, is some fish will fold weak hands and some fish won't, right?
Okay,
Some fit like even if you knew that your opponent only ever had like queen 10 here, like their only hand was queen 10.
okay,
There are fish that will fold queen 10 to a 75% pot bet, and there are fish, you know, like there are fish that will fold queen 10 here to this bet. There are fish that will always call versus this bet. And there are fish that like if you bet 133,
he calls. No way.
they're gonna call. So the part that I'm sure about is what the range looks like. The part that depends on the fish is how they respond to a bet
Okay, no,
now
no,
that they've
no way.
checked river,
Yeah,
right?
we,
It's tough to say.
yeah, we adapt on the history.
Hmm. As a default, I would bluff.
Okay,
But I sometimes you just get owned because like they're different from each other.
okay,
Yeah,
understood.
yeah. Okay, so this is a little bit about why we study theory, right? Is that when we look at our opponent's responses and we see how our opponent will play differently than the solver, we're able to build strategies that exploit them either immediately or on later streets. So we looked at examples where check is preferable on a mix. We looked at examples where fold was preferable in a spot where it was mixing, right? And then we looked at an example of how failing to understand theory can lead us to believe our opponent is making a mistake when in fact they're playing perfectly, right? So
Okay.
these are reasons why we learn theory. So now